I'm Zanita Raymond from Holy Family Parish, and welcome to another episode of 8.25 FM. I want you to imagine Jesus at the moneylender's table. Now imagine those tables filled with food French fries, nuggets, burgers, a whole tall glass of Coke. And now Jesus comes up and says, "Do you want me to turn this over as well?" I'm kidding, Jesus would never waste food. But I thought that's a helpful image to start us off with. When it comes to our own culture of consumerism and hedonism, food is all about how it tastes, how it looks, how it makes us feel. I remember this one instance of me waiting for a friend at the metro station. And I was trying to explain to her where I was. And I said, I'm near the ticket counters, there's loads of people coming this way. She was just not able to figure out where I am. Until I said, I'm just opposite McDonald's. Just look for the big M. And then she said, now I'll know where to find you. For me, growing up and even now, vada pav has been one of my most favorite foods. But yet, when my mom makes it at home, it's just not the same. It tastes better when it's outside, even with the reused oil and sweaty hands and God knows what else. The bottom line is, it tastes better. But is food for taste or for nourishment? I had a neurocog paper where I was learning about the satiety signals that our brain gives us, and it's interesting. Our brain looks for nutrients in what we eat. Now, the problem is, junk food doesn't have a whole lot of nutrients. So you can eat and eat and eat, but your brain doesn't realize that you're full because you've only received little nutrients. And so you eat a whole lot of junk food until you feel physically full, probably to the point of throwing up. Which brings in a host of other disorders like anorexia, which is starving yourself, or bulimia, or binge eating. Now, all of these come from a toxic relationship with food, which actually affects your brain. And so, it's not about what you want to eat, but what you need to eat. Let me look at my own relationship with food. Growing up, I was a very fussy eater, and that's an understatement. I remember family trips to Kerala. My mom would literally pack like chatis and handis and I think even a pressure cooker because I would refuse to eat anything except khichdi. Over years, after food being shoved down my throat, my mom praying and trying the best recipes and asking God to put some sense into my head, I finally learned the value of food. Now I eat anything and everything. It's a problem solved, right? Far from it. It's not about what we want to eat, but about what we need to eat. So we can't be eating anything and everything. St. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 16 that our body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. Two things to note. One, it matters what goes into our body, what goes into our temple. And two, if our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, do we have a say over what goes in, or is it the Holy Spirit? So, when it comes to food, the devil knows how big a temptation it can be. So don't think this is a new age phenomenon. Going back to Genesis chapter 1, Adam and Eve, God tells them, don't eat the fruit of this tree. And what do? Go and eat the fruit. And Satan uses that even today. C.S. Lewis has written this beautiful book called Screwtape Letters, and in the very first chapter, he gives an interesting story. There's this man, an atheist, who goes to the British Museum. And as he walks around, he looks at the different artifacts, he thinks to himself, is this all that we have to show for humanity? And now that single thought could lead him to think of immortality, could lead him to think of God. And Satan realizes this. And so what he does is, the very next thought this man has, what do I have for lunch? It's time for lunch, I'm feeling hungry. And he starts to think of the ham, bacon and cheese sandwich that he's going to have. And all those thoughts are gone. He died an atheist, very sadly. And Satan continues to use food to tempt us in different ways even today. So what do we do about it? Here's what I can say. Think of food. Literally, think FOOD. Forbid junk, offer one meal, one serving, and don't waste food. Set boundaries for yourself. Forbid yourself from just binge eating junk food. Say maybe one meal a week is okay, but forbid junk as far as you can. 2. Offer meals. When you're saying your grace before meals, offer that food for someone who's missed a meal, a child who's hungry, offer that food. 3rd, one serving. This is a lesson I learned from an elderly volunteer at Divine Retreat Center, and he said, when you serve yourself, take one serving. It could be the best food you've had in your life that you want to take 3 more servings, or it could be the worst food that you don't even want to finish what's on your plate. But take one serving and be content with what's on it. And lastly, don't waste food. If there's leftover food in your fridge that's not going to be eaten, pack it up, take it to someone on the street or someone at a homeless shelter, but don't let that food go to waste. In Luke chapter 16, Jesus gives us the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Now, when you pay attention to the verses, it says the rich man feasted sumptuously, but Lazarus, he desired at least the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. Now, the rich man was not a bad guy. In fact, he was probably a good person. The problem was, he paid attention to his own needs, his own comforts, with ignoring poor Lazarus who was hungry by the roadside just under his nose. And that indifference is what led him to hell and Lazarus to heaven. Jesus himself had a good relationship with food. The second time he meets his disciples after the resurrection, what does he do? He cooks breakfast for them. As their boat comes to shore, they see fish and bread roasting by the fire. Even when he raised Jairus' daughter, he tells her parents, give her something to eat. Or the 5,000 men with their women and children, he has compassion on them and gives them bread and fish to eat. Even in the Old Testament, when the Israelites were wandering in the desert, God gives them manna to eat, and He tells them, take only what you need for that day. But some greedy, hungry Israelites, they take more than what they need, and those leftovers go to waste, they get spoiled. The very last supper that Jesus had with His disciples before His death, He could have done anything in the world, but He chooses to share a meal with them, the Last Supper. In fact, even the Eucharist that we celebrate, it is ultimately a meal that we partake of, a meal that we share with Jesus. And so, as Catholics, it is so important to recognize the value of food. Not only for us to know, because Satan also knows this, which is why gluttony is one of the 7 cardinal sins. And so today, let us take a moment to revisit our relationship with food. Let us take a moment to ask the Holy Spirit to help us discern what goes into our bodies, which is ultimately His temple. Today is the day where you start a healthy relationship with food. God bless you. Bon appetit.
Hi, hello. What is up?
Hello. I'm very tempted by all of this food.
See you in the next episode. Stay tuned.
Is this chicken? This is very